So we're here today. It's the 26th of August, the year of our Lord 2020, and I'm here with my firstborn son to discuss what has perhaps become his greatest passion in recent years, and that is bees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bees. The study of bees is known as
Beekeeping?
beekeeping. There's no funky Latin ology term.
Apiarist.
Apiarist.
If you have bees, you're an apiarist.
Apiarist. Well, welcome to the show. I want to ask you several questions, and then this will be not only our inaugural conversation to be taped using all of this funky hardware and software, but also we've got some crowdsourced questions for you to see just how vast and deep is your knowledge of being an apiarist, right? So welcome. First of all, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How old are you? Where do you go to school? And what else we might be surprised to learn about you? Let's keep it there. Stay away from bees for a minute. Okay. So who are you? Where do you go to school? What's something we'd be surprised to know? Go.
I'm 17 and a half. Mm-hmm. Go to Buncombe County Early College, which is where I started getting into bees because my teacher is a beekeeper and he has a bee club. And surprising. I can't think of anything.
Nothing surprising? We should get the sister or the other brother in here.
No, let's not do that.
No, let's keep it to ourselves?
Yeah, let's keep that to ourselves.
Okay, we'll edit that in later.
Okay.
So, obviously, first questions, obligatory questions. What first made you interested in bees?
So, when I first went to early college, first year there, they had, they call them interest groups, but they were just fancy name for clubs. And there was this new one out called beekeeping. And all the others didn't sound very interesting except for one like building, like science kind of course. So I took beekeeping, and I've just been more interested ever since because I love insects, like ants, bees, stuff like that.
So you're part of the club there. Mm-hmm. How many are in the club?
It was around I think a little over 15.
15. Male to female ratio?
I don't remember. But we had to cap it off because so many people kept coming back.
Oh, a highly coveted spot on the bee club.
And literally, it's the first year there, so technically I'm a founding member, and they said I could put that in my resume.
A charter member, right? Is there any kickback, any royalties for something like that?
You get first pick if you want to come back in.
First pick. All right. So you have dibs on a spot. Are there ever legacy appointments where, if one of your siblings come in, could you get them? Never mind.
No.
That's.
Would I choose to let them in, or could I?
Right. Okay. Right. We'll keep family dynamics out of the interview if we can. So you like bees, and you've been doing that for not 3 years now.
Yeah, well, 2 years, but
okay.
I got them this year.
So you now have a beehive, and tell us about that beehive.
Well, my teacher and his friend donated to me. I was asking him where I could get bees. And he said, I have a hive if you want it. I was like, oh, thank you. So he donated the equipment to me and the bees, and I'm very thankful for that. Jeffrey Fleckenstein.
And so you are the proud owner of about how many bees now?
40,000, give or take.
40,000. You've counted them.
Yes.
An average of 40,000. And that beehive could grow to a certain size of what, conceivably?
Well, that's about the size they get. Once they run out of room, and they have enough bees, they will split. Half of them will leave with a new queen, and that's how they create new hives. So one hive splits, half stays, half goes away. Repeat the process, and they keep splitting.
Okay. And we're going to get into several of those questions from those that have submitted questions in time about the dynamics of beehives. But as I understand it, as you've told me recently, that right now they are in that phase where they are preparing for winter, even though it's late August. And what does that preparation look like?
Pretty much they collect honey. They've collected most of I think most of it right now. I've given them some supplemental feed because I got them a little later in the year, so they are kind of behind, and the neighbor's bees got some of the honey, or got some of the flowers to make honey. So I give them bee candy, which is corn syrup and sugar. Not good for you, but
not just bee candy.
Not just bee candy, yeah. But I'm not eating it, so they're just eating it for winter. So, not eating the corn syrup, but that's just to keep them alive. They got about 10 frames, which is what they need for winter. And they'll just huddle in there. They won't move. Well, all they do is like just try to stay warm. They'll flutter their wings, which creates a heat bubble, and then they'll slowly start dying out slowly, and then they'll just stay in one group and keep the queen warm and eat.
Keep the queen warm.
Mhm.
It's all about
the
her.
heat. All about her.
It's all about her and the heat.
So like in springtime, there'll be about a clump of bees like this much, and they'll have to restart from scratch. Almost, well, not completely from scratch, but yeah.
And so when is it the show me the honey time for us? When, at what point do they begin to produce such that we will benefit from their labor?
Usually around
Slave labor.
summertime. So next summer,
Summertime.
like beginning of summer.
Oh dear.
Well, maybe a little later, like July. Get some honey.
And your best estimate about how much honey they might produce in a given season?
Anywhere from 30 to 60 pounds.
30 to 60 pounds. That's a lot of honey.
That's a lot of honey.
It's very helpful to our family
Mm-hmm.
to keep you and your blood sugars in the proper boundary. So, all right, good. All right, how many times? Let's see. You've had the bees for what, 3 months now?
Something like that, yeah.
And how many times have you been stung?
11.
11 times
That I can remember.
that you can remember. And what is for you, the experience has been uneventful?
Except for the one on my foot, which lasted for days. Every other bee sting has lasted exactly 60 seconds. Well, almost exactly. Like, I get stung about 10 seconds, I stop cursing, and then I start counting.
So apparently the bees have never really, there's no such thing as the bees growing accustomed to you such that they go, oh, it's him.
They
He's
do.
fine.
As long as, like, you're out with them a lot, they'll get used to your smell. And they don't like, if they sting you once, they'll be mad at you for a while, but then once the pheromone is, they attach a pheromone to you, so you'll, like, a target, but once that wears off, they forget that you were an enemy.
I believe it was another member of your family that had a rather remarkable experience with that phenomenon in recent weeks. Yes? You want to tell that story?
My mom got
Who?
stung on her back,
Uh-huh.
rips her shirt off and runs inside, and you yell, "Woo!" was your exact words.
This is a family show.
Well, you brought it up.
I did. Yeah, you're right. So she was marked, and then other bees began to circle and target her. And even when she came back out, she thought, surely I'm fine. They've all calmed down. But no, the word went out. The memo was widely distributed, and those responsible for the defense of the hive suddenly knew her to be an intruder.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I've even had, like, if you get away fast enough, it's just that one bee that stung you, and it will try to, like, attack you. Even though it has no stinger, it'll try biting you, even though it can't. It just rams into you, gets all angry, starts crawling over you.
Right.
And then you can grab it and just pick it up. But yeah, because it has no stinger anymore. But they are livid, yeah.
And once a bee has stung,
It's dead.
eventually it will not last long.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives its life for the hive.
Except for the queen, who can sting multiple times.
I see. A queen bee.
Queen bee, yeah.
Yes.
More like
Queen bees.
yeah.
So tell me about the queen. How does a queen come to be? How does a queen come to be established as the queen?
So there are two types of eggs, males and females. All females will turn into workers, except for the queen, which she's also a normal worker. So all bees, when they're eggs, they get fed royal jelly, which other workers secrete from certain glands. And then normal workers will get fed honey. They only get fed royal jelly for a little bit, then they get honey the rest of their lives. Queens will get fed royal jelly forever. Or not forever, but like until they're fully grown. And that activates certain genes, which cause them to lay eggs and change form. So, yeah.
And the reason there are not multiple queens simultaneously in a hive,
They don't really like each other, they'll kill each other.
it becomes a turf war,
Mhm.
and only one bee left buzzing.
So if a queen is getting old, and the bees will know that, because she's not laying as many eggs, they will take, they'll hide a cell where she's already laid an egg. They'll make it into a queen cell, which they kind of extend it because the queens are really big. And they'll hide it from her, so when that hatches, it'll come and kill her. Because if you're a queen and you know that they're gonna make another queen to kill you, you're not gonna lay an egg there, so they have to hide it.
Hide and go seek.
Yeah, pretty much. The queen makes no decisions. All the workers make all the decisions for her. She's like pretty much the slave of the colony. All she is there for egg production.
Would you say that most of your knowledge about bees has come through membership in the club or through your own research on your own?
I'd say mostly club, and then I've read some books, but mostly from the club.
Okay. I know there's lots of theories out there as to what accounts for why bees seem to be dwindling by population on a global scale. What's your best guess on the various theories available?
I have no clue, honestly.
Whether it's
could be glyphosate.
pesticides,
It could be
whether it could be glyphosate. In case we don't get shut down by Monsanto here after our first run.
Well, bees that are exposed to baby bees brood, or they're exposed to glyphosate in their diet will die. I have researched
Okay.
that about a couple of years ago. Totally not related subject, but it was about glyphosate paper, but they will die.
Okay. I think I think one theory we've heard is that solar cycles sometimes screw up their
I've
sense
heard
of
that.
navigation, especially in those solar cycles in which sun spots are at a minimum, and somehow that
Yeah, I
that's
don't
as far
know
as my
about that.
understanding, and that came out of the McDonald Observatory in Austin or in Texas several years ago, right? Okay, this is not about me though. This is about you. Let me pull up some of our crowdsourced questions. The wife put out several questions. What are the chief enemies of bees? Who are they most
There's a
concerned
lot.
with besides women in backyards?
Varroa mites, which are tiny mites that are visible to the eye, but they're just kind of small. So if you were a bee, it's like a basketball attached to you sucking your blood.
Oh,
And so we have two teachers in the bee club, Fleckenstein and Tom Copeland. And he has two hives, and one absconded in September, which means they left. So when they leave in September, it's almost wintertime. They're leaving with no honey, so it's like almost a certain death sentence. Does that make sense?
okay.
So he thought it was wasps, because wasps do kind of attack them, because like aggravating them.
Mm-hmm.
But we opened his hive up, and we found a whole bunch of dead larvae and stuff with varroa mites. One had 4 on it. 4 basketballs sucking your blood. So like it weakens the bees, which makes them more vulnerable to other diseases and stuff like that.
How does a varroa mite colony end up infiltrating the bees? I mean, they're so small, right?
They're usually like you always have them. It's just how many you have.
I see.
Something like that. But there are ways to get rid of them. Like I can't remember at the moment, but yeah, there are some.
Varroa mites, and that's
Varroa.
spelled. I won't put you on the spot. like that.
Varroa, I think.
Sure. Okay.
There's also American foul brood, and some other diseases like pretty much turns the babies to mush. I think I can't remember if that's the right disease, but several diseases that will kill them and stuff.
And the treatment for those various infiltrators?
I can't remember if it was American foul brood, but it might be just burn the hive.
Oh.
Doesn't spread. Yeah.
So there are some
Something
some
you can't-
infiltrations in which all you can do is
Yeah,
start
don't quote
over.
me on that, but it was one disease I remember reading about that if you have it, it might have been chalk brood, I can't remember, but something like that, where they turn to they look like chalk because they've whitened and hardened. But one of those you have to burn the hive.
I see. And so you have to inspect for those sorts of things on a
Mhm.
regular basis because it starts to get out of hand, then you're done.
There are also nuisances like wax moths, which are just worms that get laid in there. They will chew the honey and wax and mess it up. And tiny hive beetles, small hive beetles, they're literally just tiny beetles about this size. They will get inside, poop in the honey, eat it, and almost turn it to slime because they're pooping so much. But you only worry about those, if you see them, they're like, your hive is weak. So it's the sign of a failing hive. If you have a strong hive, you don't need to worry about it as much. So, yeah.
Which infiltrator are you most concerned with, or do you think would be most likely around this climate? Or do you have a
I have
sense of that?
I think I heard wasps during this time of year. They run out of their natural food sources. They try to raid. I haven't seen any, but they try to raid the hive for honey, and they also eat some of the bees.
So on a more personal note, I've noticed that sometimes you are fine with grabbing a chair or a local stump and just sitting and observing your hive at close proximity, whereas most of us would say, I'm going to keep my distance from that thing. You go and sit and you look rather contemplative. What are you doing as you do that? What are you considering or just enjoying yourself?
Sometimes I just watch them. Sometimes I try to catch the drones, which come out around 3:30. I've noticed sometimes this is what I've noticed. I don't know if it's all hives do this. I know mine does. 3:30 till 6, and I think they go out. So drones from different colonies will come meet in certain areas, and that's where a new queen will go to mate with them. So I think they're going there. And I tried catching them just for fun because they have no stinger. They can't sting you. They're defenseless. And they should be getting kicked out soon to die because of winter. Because they're not needed in winter. Just an extra mouth to feed.
So you're observing the whole life cycle and the hive dynamics just right up there close and personal. And because you're not messing with them, they feel like you're not a threat. And so you can...
Once you're there long enough, they
Once
get
you're there
used
long
to
enough.
smell.
All right. All right, good. Someone asks that when her kids were young, their family helped an elderly bee lady. She had a thick book called the Bee Bible. She had a few people come from out of state every couple of years to have help her get stung in arthritic joints. To have her help them get stung in arthritic joints. Have you ever heard of?
I've heard
of
of
a
that.
therapeutic form of stinging?
My teacher says that's the same thing. He says he even experienced it. Like, he gets stung all the time because he's with, like, 30 hives. So he'll get stung, and he says, like, his joints feel better. Like, he feels like they're more flexible because the immune system attacks that one spot, which opens up lots of blood flow and I guess allows it, like, so you don't get arthritis and stuff like that, and so it's like easier to move your joints.
Fascinating. Let's see. So bees, queen lives for how long? You've said it maybe
3 years, I think.
3 years. Drones last.
3 months.
Workers last.
1 month in summer, or I think it's maybe one to 2 months. But no, it's 1 month. No, 4 to 6 weeks. But in winter, they will last 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
But that's theorized because they don't work as much. That's a theory, and so like they're maybe working themselves to death in summer.
So conceivably, if so long as there's a healthy replenishment of new queens as old queens die and new queens come, that hive could last a long time if if everything works out well.
Yeah, technically. Yes.
Is that a rather common thing, or is it rare to have bees last several seasons without interruption?
There are things that happen, like all those diseases I mentioned.
Sure.
Bees will sometimes, like a queen will sometimes get killed, by like, squished or something like that, like accidentally squished her. And then sometimes bees don't have enough brood to make a queen, or something like that. Yeah, like if a queen can get fed royal jelly, but if she gets it fed a little too late, she won't lay as much, so the hive will be less productive.
So there's a sweet spot in which workers are trying to treat their queen right, to do right by their queen.
Yeah.
And if they're lazy, then they get less out of her in time. Yeah.
So that's why people actually that's what people make their own queens. My teacher does that. You can make your own queen it's a complicated process, but you can make your own, and if you have a license, you can sell them. $45 usually.
$45.
They're expensive. Yeah.
Simple question for those of us that know very little about it. What's with the smoke? Why do you use smoke? What does it accomplish when you're working with bees?
So when you get stung, I said there's a pheromone on you, which is a pheromone is just something that affects something else's hormones. So in this case, it affects the bee's hormones, causing them to want to attack me. And they use pheromones for communication, everything else like that. So if you're spraying smoke on it, the theory is that it's disrupting the pheromones, and which calms them down. So they're not getting the attack message. They're just getting no message. So they're not as angry.
Okay. Do the bees there's probably a better word for it than symbiosis, but the bees, one person asks, how do they contribute to the health of a given environment? Or do they only take from it?
Well, they give because they're pollinating. So they're pollinating, creating more plants and stuff like that, but they are not native to North America.
Bees are not native to North America. They're native
Not honeybees.
Okay, and they're originating from where?
Depends on the bee. They breed. Bees are mixed, bee breeds are mixed together, like they mix them together, but I think like Europe and stuff like that, they were shipped over here.
I see. So when I was growing up in Texas, they would talk about the influx of African killer bees.
Yeah, those are. So I told you bees are, they're mixing breeds together to get new and better breeds.
Right.
I believe African honeybee, or I think they were mixed together, and that's like two different breeds are mixed together, causing that. I'm pretty sure.
Another theory that people have put forth as to why the ordinary bee colonies have dwindled over time because of those predator bees, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. There are native bees though, like the carpenter bee and stuff like that, and yeah, carpenter bee, tiny black carpenter bee, which is about this big. It almost looks like a ant with wings.
Oh. How do bees find the nectar then to bring back to the?
They send out searchers every day, and if one finds it, like they'll just fly around looking for it, then they'll come back and do a dance. They'll waggle their abdomen, they'll flap their wings, shake their legs, and I forgot who. There's some scientist who actually deciphered it, and that will tell the bees where to go.
I remember when I was a child on some PBS show of them putting a camera on the bees, and the bee starts to do its own little dance, and that dance is actually a set of directions. It's providing its own little GPS system.
Yeah.
You're going to go there, and you can take a left, and then right at the corner, and watch out for the dog.
And
yeah.
there's a hive right here within a 3-mile radius. That's how far they'll go, within 3 miles.
Right. So we have another neighbor in our neighborhood, Mr. Kearney, Reverend Kearney, who has his own bee colony. Any chance of a sort of a West Side Story scrum between your two? He doesn't know what that is.
Fight?
Yeah, fight. Oh, he does. Between the two colonies, any chance of that kind of rumble?
If one's weaker, if there's a weak colony, meaning like less bees to guard it, stuff like that, then during this time of year, when it's getting close to winter, some bees will raid that colony of honey.
Oh.
So they'll attack it and try to kill it.
And would there be any indication that you could discern whether or not there's a?
You see bees fighting or like swarming around each other. Looks like they're grappling and tumbling and fighting and stuff like that. Then, and also sometimes like try to get into cracks and stuff like that they're not supposed to. And yeah.
So you tell me you have a special guest with you today.
Oh yes.
Something that we might enjoy taking a look at here, and
so
we have a special way of showing that. So what are we looking at here?
This is a worker. You can tell from the eyes here; they're kind of small, not fully on the head. A drone would have eyes all over its head, like it's completely eyes almost. Yeah, it's died of natural causes or it worked itself to death. So the stinger's still in there probably.
Yeah. Back it up a little bit so we can see that again.
Yeah.
Look in frame here though. Look on the camera.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So you can see it died with its tongue out, which I heard that was bad, but I can't remember why.
Bring it back out further a little away from the camera so that we can get it in sharper focus. Okay, there we go. So that bee would have lasted, had it not met its untimely demise, up to a year, or would you say 3 months?
4 to 6 months.
4 to 6 months.
In winter.
And this bee's particular job was to.
So they start when they're first born. They come out and clean their cell, and they take care of other bees, like feeding them, stuff like that. Then they go out and fly and look for food. Food.
I see.
So and some will take care of the queen, stuff like that. She always has an entourage with her, feeding her constantly and stuff.
I see.
Okay.
Great.
We also have a surprise guest you don't know about.
Oh, fantastic. Let's see. Oh, we've gone to black there. Stand by. Let me fix this here. Is this something we need to have on the smaller camera?
Smaller
or the bigger
camera might be better.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So this is a jar.
Oh, we have live
of drones.
Oh, a jar of drones. Look at there.
So they are completely harmless. They will get kicked out to die sooner or later. You might want to do a bigger camera, maybe?
Yeah, they can see it right now. It's great.
So I caught them all today.
You want to put it on that one.
Yeah,
Okay, hang on a
yeah.
second. Yeah, we'll transition out of that thing. This is our first time using the beers here. So
I caught them all today
there
just for
it is.
fun.
Oh, look at there.
They have no stingers. I'll see if I can take one out.
Hey, maybe, no
Just
stingers.
one.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. They don't get ornery. They can't bump you or anything like that, will they?
No.
Oh, they're making buzzing sounds. Yeah, how about you put the rest at the top there? Yeah, good.
So if you can see it, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do the small camera. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, sure. I'm picking up. Hang on. Let's get this in frame here. And how's that? Okay.
So
look
you
there.
can see it has big eyes. That's how
Yeah.
you tell it's bigger.
Okay.
It also has a bigger body
Mm-hmm.
and really powerful wings. If you can hear it, I don't know if you can hear it.
I sure can. Oh, listen to that. Yeah, great. Put it back on the camera. Up top. Oh, you want to do that one? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, do you want to do that one?
And is that a male or female?
That's a male.
Oh,
I'm
they're
not
all-
stung yet. All males have only half the set of chromosomes.
Right.
So if a queen lays an unfertilized egg, it's gotta be a male. If it's fertilized, it means it's gotta be female.
Oh, and
There he
he
goes.
goes. All right. Wow.
Okay.
Fascinating. Wonderful. All right. Let's wrap this up. This has been great. So, somebody that may have had their interest piqued by you talking about bees, where would they begin to investigate or learn more about bees, or even, I don't know, become part of a club? Where would you direct them?
I believe there are some bee clubs in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
You can just look at bee clubs in your area. If you're going to get some, you gotta get them in the spring. Get a package of bees in the spring, and you gotta reserve it a few months ahead.
I see.
That's about $120, $150. It's a big upfront cost, but my teacher who bought 2 hives made the money back in his first year. So you might have to. It might take you 2 years, but
I guess I owe it to you that I can hear a bee buzz and not immediately panic.
yeah.
I'm grateful for that. So there are ways to oh, it's in your hair. When's the last time you got a haircut? Doesn't matter. So there's any number of ways for those that are curious to learn more, to become part of organizations that cultivate bees, and that gosh, if someone was to try to save their pennies to purchase what they would need to start a really first beehive, what would it cost? Approximately
$500,
$500.
$400, $500.
So,
But that's only your uptime. So say your bees die,
Mhm.
you're not gonna need to pay that much anymore because you have all the equipment you need. You have a bee suit, you have a hive tool, you have a smoker, and you have like the boxes and frames and stuff you need. So once you got that, all you need to do is buy new bees again if your bees die, because
Okay.
that does happen.
okay. Any final thoughts? Any other recommendations for us, or good stories?
Not really, no.
Okay. Well, it's been a delight for your mother and I to watch you take this on and find great joy in it. And so thank you for sharing part of your passion with us. All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all on the flip side.